have joined?
Yeah, they're joining, sir.
I can see 103 participants, right? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So we don't need to wait for more time, right?
No, no more time, sir. The people will join us and then we
All
can
right.
start, sir. Yes. So good morning, students, teachers, and other staff members who are attending the induction program online. We are on the last day of the student induction program conducted by APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University for its first year BTech students. Like yesterday, there are two sessions scheduled by the university for the day. The valedictory function of the induction program is conducted offline at College of Engineering Trivandrum at 2 p.m. Honorable Minister for Higher Education and Social Justice, Dr. R. Bindu, will inaugurate the session. The event will be streamed live. Colleges are requested to join the session. This session is also streamed live on our FB page. Coming back to today's session on roadmap for graduate students, joining us is Professor K.P. Sudhir, Executive Vice President, Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment, and Principal Secretary, Science and Technology Department, Government of Kerala. Professor Sudhir. Professor Sudhir is also a professor in the Department of Civil Engineering at IIT Madras, currently serving the Government of Kerala on deputation. He is also an adjunct professor at Purdue University in the United States. As it would take too long to list out all his credentials, I will cut it short for the mutual benefit of the session. Professor Sudhir is instrumental in the creation of the Kerala State River Basin Conservation and Management Authority Act. He is also an active member of several government committees related to water resource management in Kerala. He is a recipient of Young Engineer Award from the International Academy of Engineering, the Boy Scout Fellowship from the Government of India, the German India Star Fellowship from DAR in Germany, the Emerging Leaders of India Fellowship from the Australia India Institute in Melbourne, and the Erasmus Mundus International Faculty Position funded by the European Union. He has also received the esteemed Eminent Engineer Award from IE India, among many others. As a distinguished academic, he has successfully guided 17 PhD students, 15 in India and 2 abroad, with 3 more currently under his mentorship. Pardon me, sir, I could not do a fair job in trimming all your qualification and excellence. So, like how we did all these days, after 1 hour of the session, Professor Sudhi will be taking questions from the students. Teachers, please note this and encourage the students to ask questions. It's not every day we get to interact with eminent persons like him. So, with all your permission, I now welcome Professor Sudhi to the session. Kindly take over the sessions.
Thank you, Anisha. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would like to share my screen.
Please.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is.
Okay. All right. So good morning, everyone. Well, the engineering aspirants of Kerala, the first year engineering students, I would like to congratulate all of you for choosing this academic system for your career choice and studies, which has a lot of things to offer to you, right? So before I formally start what I have to tell you today, just want to tell you the importance of today, the 15th of September. I don't know if many of you have realized that today is celebrated as the Engineers' Day in India, to commensurate with the date of birth, I mean the birthday of Sir Visvesvaraya, who was considered to be an eminent engineer, which was well recognized by the entire country as well as different people abroad. So I devote this talk to him because it was a mere coincidence, I guess. KTU never planned that today would be Engineers' Day, and then they didn't want the. I mean, I don't know whether they have planned to conclude the orientation session on the Engineers' Day. It could have been a coincidence as well. Anyway, I would like to quote his words. He said, "Every man who has become great owes his achievements to incessant toil." In other words, the hard work pays. That is what he meant. So I at the end of this discussion, I probably would like all of you to do a sincere job in your studies as well as in career, so that the achievements can be linked to that. With this, I would like to see what I've been asked to discuss today is primarily to give you a roadmap for your engineering studies as well as the career ahead. So I would start. I mean, basically to set the tone, I would start from what is expected from an engineer, or what is an engineer supposed to do. Well, if you go by a bookish definition of engineer, they are practitioners of engineering. It's basically a profession where design, build, and test is the three important things we engineers do. The design, build, and test could be on machines, complex systems, structures, gadgets, materials, with an objective of fulfilling the functional requirements and considering the limitations imposed by the practicality, regulation, safety, and cost. So primarily, if you look at what is an engineer supposed to do is, you need to basically facilitate the functioning of a requirement by considering all the aspects in the environment and the regulatory bodies, and help the society to live in a better way. And that is what it basically, it's normally when you look at engineering, there were only two kinds of engineering in the very beginning, which were considered to be, one is military engineering and the other was civil engineering. Because the military service and civil service, these were the two different aspects. But then it got evolved into different kinds of engineering with specialized branches and specialized studies, focused studies on specific aspects of engineering. And that is where all the branches of engineering has evolved. But all these engineers primarily work towards a better living of the human being in the society. And if you look at throughout the period of developing these, the better living, or considering the better living in the society, we have actually damaged the environment as well. And that is what we are now paying off. The climate change and similar aspects are, or which are negatively impacting now, are all created by the human being. Need not only be engineers, but again, the human being in several aspects. That is why it is called, we call it as, or we say in the definition itself, within the limitations imposed by the practicality, regulation, safety, and cost. This is what an engineer should always look at. Now, what are the different engineering streams? All of you, I guess, the people who have joined online is from different streams of engineering. It could be civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, metallurgy, mechatronics, biotechnology, and so on. There are n number of engineering branches available today. As I said, there were only initially two branches, which was the military engineering and civil engineering. Then we had the basic engineering as civil, mechanical, and electrical for longer period of time. Then it got again diverted into different kinds of engineering, like whatever is the engineering. And these days, if you look at, there are new engineering branches which is popping up on a yearly basis. But all of them have something in common. That is what is most important thing. Specific focus may be different in different branches, but there are a lot of common things which an engineer should know and engineer learn. And if you look at, some of you might have joined a specific stream of engineering by choice, probably because you are passionate about that. You have read about it. You read about the applications of that branch in the society, or probably a professional growth or a career prospects. Then you choose that specific branch of engineering. Someone who wanted to choose because of some constraint, he or she could not join the specific branch, or he or she did not get admission to the specific branch for some reasons, then they had no choice, but then they had to opt the available branches, which is probably the second or third or even the later choices. Some of you would have also joined any of these branches or even engineering by accident. Well, I completed my +2. My passion is to do engineering, and any branch of engineering is fine with me. Some of you will do that. I mean, I have seen people joining engineering as a passion for a specific branch of engineering, as there was no other option to do anything else, and they come to the engineering. But anyway, whatever be the reason that you have joined or chosen this stream or the profession for your studies and the career, my humble suggestion to all of you is, don't regret and don't get back, or don't look back. You have come to this anyway. Now let us look at what is possible for you in future, or in what is in front of you, so that you can utilize the best out of it, and then come up with a very good career for you. And that should be the way you should be considering your admission to engineering now, because there will be a lot of rumors, peer pressure, and other aspects which you will hear from several people, or on a daily basis, I should say, or even on an hourly basis, for that in a different way. But then you have chosen this, now that is your career, or you are forced to do this, now that is your career. So let us see what best or how best we can utilize the opportunity for this career and the studies. That is what you should only be looking at. And I would also wanted to mention, because this is one of the things I have observed these days. Recently, I understand that I've been talking to different officials of university and the institutes at different colleges. There is a tendency these days that the computer science and related branches, or where the circuit branches, we call it as, that is getting filled very fast, and other branches of engineering are not that easy to get filled up, and there are several seats lying vacant. But then I would say it is only a perception, because every engineering branch has its own merit and the job prospects. So if in 1 year, if there are only computer science engineers getting graduated, what will happen to the other requirement of profession? Only the computer science engineers cannot drive the world completely. You need other branch of engineers also to drive the system completely. That is why I said, the society, if it has to go together, we need a variety of applications and input from various engineers. So those people who might be thinking that, okay, I did not get a prospective branch of engineering, please don't think that you are second to somebody. You are second to none. Primarily, it all depends on how you put efforts, learn things, and translate it into practice and ground. And that is the success of any branch of engineering. If you don't take it very seriously, well, we don't know where we are going to reach again, right? Anyway, just wanted to tell you, why should you study engineering? All of you have decided to study engineering and you have joined the system. But again, the question is, some of you, as I said, some of you have come with passion. Some of you have maybe like you didn't want this branch of engineering, but engineering was your choice. So you got a choice branch, which was not your primary choice, but then you still decided to come, and then some of you by accident. But then why engineering is a branch of study is always a question. The most important thing I would say in engineering is, you will be trained, or you will get an idea for creative thinking. I have seen the creative thinking property of an engineer is much higher than any other professional people. Particularly the logical problem solving skills which you gain during the course of study in your 4 years. People used to wonder why the class teacher or the course teacher is giving us assignments, giving us mathematical problems, giving us practical examples and all. This is all primarily to ignite you on a thinking process where your mind start thinking creatively for developing solutions. And that is the beauty of an engineer. When you come across a problem, there is no textbook solution to every problem. When you come across a specific issue, you cannot depend on a Bureau of Indian Standards code to solve that. Bureau of Indian Standard code you will learn in due course, because that is what most of the engineers refer to for specifications, for designing certain things. But to solve a problem, you need to apply your learning experience and the knowledge in a creative way. And that is where your capacity or your skills for creative thinking get enhanced by interaction in the class, by solving different kinds of problems in assignments, by understanding the textbook theoretical part, then doing practicals also in the industrial visits and other things which is part of your curriculum. So the engineering curriculum is designed in such a way that you keep thinking about various aspects of a practical problem and try to develop solutions, whether it is design or whether it is implementation or whether it is management comes later. So your thinking is improved and then molded in a better way. And that is the most important aspect of an engineer when he graduates. And this kind of a training you don't get anywhere. The second important point is you can solve global problems. Problems need not always be local. You can actually develop solutions which are common everywhere. You can have a large scale problem where solutions are required, and mostly the engineers are together solving it. These days it has become interdisciplinary solution rather than an individual solution, because most of the problems which we come across these days have become interdisciplinary, where you need input from various branch of engineering as well as science. So your problem solving skills also gets improved, your creative thinking gets improved, your teamwork capabilities gets improved. Specifically when you are coming across a interdisciplinary problem where you have to coordinate with several people, you have to interact with several people who have different perceptions about the problem, and try to develop try to perceive the problem from various angles and try to develop a solution finally for meeting all the requirement of all the sectors. So that is required in a teamwork where you will be equipped for working in a team, working for solutions in a creative way. And in addition, you will always be equipped for higher technical studies, because you learn the basic fundamentals during your undergraduate studies, but then to enhance your knowledge in a specific field of specialization, you will be equipped for higher technical studies. And the other point is, engineers always have social credibility. When I say social credibility, what I meant is, as I said in the beginning, engineers basically make the world in a way that the common man can live in the system or an environment with all comfort in a better way. So you have a credibility in the society, because they know, the common man or the people of the system recognize you as you are the person who have actually facilitated a better living for them. So you get a social credibility. And on top of that, you have vast career options. You have a lot of career options, which normally, in another point which I wanted to mention here is, generally, I think 15 years back, there used to be a tendency that no, I should graduate and get a job in the government system or a government sector as an assistant engineer of so and so department or assistant engineer of so and so board. Now the trend has changed. Trend is completely changed. So you have a lot of career choices. Engineers are required in every aspects of life, and because of that, any service provider need not be only government departments. Any service provider require the assistance of an engineer, and your choices are now empty. So your career options are going to be very, very high when you want to look at. But I wanted to caution you 2 points at this point of time. See, if you insist that I will work only in a government department, I guess you are going to be a failure. Because if you look at the statistics, by 2030, the most people who have left India for career prospects and higher studies and developments, it is expected that they all will come back to India to because of the development in India, or India is going to become a better economy. That is the statistics. That's a projection. Now, in that case, your competition for government jobs will be very high, and all of you will not get a government job that easily. So you should actually, we say that the opportunities are generally for entrepreneurs, and you need to have a creative thinking, innovative mind, and develop your own profession or your own the establishment of industries and other activities. That is where the opportunities are going to be in future. So please don't think that I should only join a government job as an assistant engineer or some other engineer in a government system. You have several job opportunities waiting for you outside the government system as well. So you should consider that as well, because finally all the engineers do the same kind of work. It boils down to establishing or facilitating better living in the society for the human being. And monetary reward for each and every job are really good for the engineers. It is not very less. So you have n number of jobs which are monetarily rewarding. So that will be always an attraction for pursuing an engineering career. And top on all these things, the most important point is the personal satisfaction. When you do something for the society, and the society accepts it, and you are able to solve a problem which you have come across, the personal satisfaction you get is beyond any monetary reward, beyond any career, beyond anything what you have achieved so far. Because finally, that is what matters for any humankind. So the satisfaction, the happiness which you derive out of all these things is much valuable than what you are doing. And these are some of the reasons why engineering could be considered as a very good profession, and you have chosen it. And as I said in the beginning, I congratulate all of you for choosing this as your career option. Now, what engineers do normally is, it's normally what happens is, when not all of you would have thought about what is my job responsibility or what is my role in the system as an engineer. You join for engineering. Now you will feel like you will again learn certain things in the class, and finally you will become engineer. But then what are we actually supposed to do, and how your studies and preparation should be oriented is again a question. So you should know what is expected from engineer. An engineer basically conceives an idea. Primarily, if there is a solution required for any of the issue which you have come across, or somebody has posed it before you, you need to conceive the idea, perceive it, and find the problem. How do you churn it out into a problem that requires a solution. You come across a issue, but then you need to visualize it, churn it out, think about it, discuss about it, and all those things, and finally come up with a problem that requires a solution. Now, once you have identified the problem, you start thinking about it and design how that can be solved. It requires planning skills. You need a lot of points and marks to be assembled. Probably if it is a mechanical problem, you need parts to be assembled. If it is a larger scale problem, you may not be able to do it on a smaller scale, then you go for computer simulations. So all these are what engineers do when they are trying to solve a problem or develop a product. And once you conceive this, develop into a problem, then you start developing the solution through designs. And that is what we normally call it as a design. Then you implement it. Implementation is basically once you have the design, you actually implement your solution on the ground, test it and operate it. Test it and operate it is more important because you need to give refinement to your solution. Only when you do the testing, you know where it is having an issue or where it is failing. Then you try to improve on that. And it basically, after a lot of trials and other things, you come up with the final product which you have conceived in the very beginning itself. And then that. And the next is to manage, maintain. You do research on for improving it and try to improvise the functionality of the product or the assembly which you have done. Then continue to do that till everybody accepts it, and then it runs into the society for longer duration. So probably this aspect of starting from the conceiving till the management or operation and maintenance is a longer process. So what we normally do is we will have groups who do all these tasks separately, and that is where the teamwork helps. There will be a lot of people who can develop creative solutions, but then once you have a solution, you need minor details or the micro level details of that. Then there will be a different team who works on that. So finally, the issue gets resolved and a solution is implemented on the ground and the engineers manage it. But if you look at from the beginning till management, there is a requirement of an engineer in any kind of problem which you can pose. And that is why engineers are considered to be very good. I mean, they are getting so credibility in the society. Now, how engineers do? Engineers do it primarily by looking at you require the mathematics of it, because engineers solve problems by looking at the physics of the problem, and physics require the mathematical skills to solve it. Scientific knowledge is important. Experimental evidence is important. Social knowledge is important. Economic knowledge is important. Practical knowledge is important. This goes back to the definition which I told you. Engineers actually, as I said in the beginning, design, test, implement, and monitor. But then there was a condition at the end, within the limitations of the available resources, which includes the environment and the economy. Cost of it was mentioned there. So if you want to develop a solution, it has to be economically viable. A simple example, which if you want me to tell you from my own field of research or field of experience, is the 2018 flood situation in Kerala. People used to ask me, can we avoid such flooding completely in future, 100% avoid in the future? I tell them simply no, because natural calamities cannot be prevented. You have no control over the natural calamity. So these are coming because of, let's say, extreme events of rainfall, which you have no control on. But then when the rainfall comes to the earth's surface, it creates such rainfall creates or develops into flooding situation, and the flood water has to basically get away from the location where it is falling, and it has to finally reach the ocean. That is how the cycle works. But now the question what was asked to me is, if we direct all the flood water to the rivers, will it not run through and then finally reach ocean, and the areas which getting inundated can be avoided? I said it is possible, provided you construct 100-meter flood walls, 100-meter high flood walls in each of the rivers and channels in the system. Then you will have only, it is not rivers, it's basically channels. And 100-meter high, this thing, I mean, 100 is a large number, which I am telling, but then what I mean is a higher elevated channels, higher elevated flood walls, which are not practically feasible and not economically feasible as well. So when you develop a solution, you certainly have to look at how do you implement, when you implement such solutions, what will be the economics? If I come up with, say, for example, if I come up with a computer or for example, a gadget, mobile phone or something, which costs you around 10 lakh rupees, will there be buyers for that? No. I can introduce more and more better technology and other things into a small gadget, but then the cost of it might go up. That is where the engineers, the creative thinking comes into picture. By reducing the cost, how do I incorporate such facilities into a gadget? It could be a computer, it could be a mobile gadget, or it could be anything else. So that is where the economic knowledge of the engineers come into picture. He should also have good knowledge about the economic management, like what will be the investment, what will be the return of investment, what will be the kind of what you say, if I make an investment today, how do I get back this investment, how many years it takes? All those things have to be worked into before you actually implement a solution on the thing. So this is important for any investor. It could be a civil engineering project. It could be a project of developing an instrument, which actually have the cost of development and other thing have to be recovered through by selling the product. All those things. So the economic management of the entire system has to be planned. So he should have fair understanding about the economy. It is not that the engineer will manage everything. He will have assistance from the economy, but then economics background, but then he also have to have an idea about the economics. Comes to practical knowledge. And then the engineers are the people who actually are on the ground. They know what actually happens on the ground, what is on the ground. So the practically what is feasible on the ground, he should have a clear understanding. Let's say, for example, if there is a bridge to be connected between the two banks of a river, and which is, say, 3 kilometers apart, and he should know how practical it is going to be by connecting it. If I go for a simple bridge, and then he thinks about different kinds of activities or different kinds of designs that can help in connecting it. So there are a lot of practical limitations and practical difficulties in connecting two banks which are 3 kilometers apart. Similarly, if I wanted to construct a high multi-story building which runs into, say, 35 to 40 floors, I have to carefully think about it. All these things have been done by engineers. There are different bridges, I think, spanning into 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers in India. The buildings which spans in which actually goes to a height of 30 to 40 stories. All these are done in India. Engineers have done it. One of the engineering marvels in terms of hydraulic structures is the Narmada irrigation system. So everything has been done by Indian engineers, but for all these problems or all these projects to be successful, the engineers have to have economic knowledge and the practical knowledge. Then scientific knowledge is important more because when you come across a problem, you do not have a direct solution in the book or in the code. So now what happens is, if you want to develop a solution to it, you need to do a analysis, do the theoretical knowledge, churn it out. How do I develop it in terms of discussions and other things through scientific? When we say, it's basically inquiry. That is what you are inquiring about what can be done, and you do a research in that, then try to develop innovative solutions for such problems. And that is what is now meant by the scientific knowledge. When you have scientific knowledge and other aspects, you should also know the experimental evidences. Before you implement any solution to the field, you do a trial run. When you do a trial run, you get to know what are the pros and cons of this implementation, the project implementation, and you understand the positive side of it and negative side of it, and try to develop the solution or improvise on the solution in such a way that the negative impacts can be minimized. That is why experimental evidence have to be there, and societal knowledge, of course, you should have, because you are finally doing it for the betterment of the society. And all these things, you require some information or some knowledge about mathematics. And mathematics is the primary, the requirement. Mathematics and physics are the primary requirement for any engineering study. So in the first year of your studies, or I think in the first semester as per your curriculum, you will have a course on engineering mathematics and engineering physics, which probably is a little extension of whatever you have learned during your +2. Minor extension, but then a deeper knowledge about it. Then you will start learning about it more and more detail in higher semesters. Engineering, I guess it runs into 3 or 4 semesters. I'm sorry, mathematics it runs into 3 or 4 semesters, where you will learn more deeper and deeper mathematics, which can be directly applied to engineering. The reason mathematics becomes important is, an engineer can pose a problem and try to develop solutions through mathematical equations. When you have mathematical equations represented for the problem, then identifying, developing solutions are becoming more easy, because mathematical equations can be solved. And that is how normally the engineers develop solutions for any kind of a problem. So the skills or the knowledge you should have is all the sectoral knowledge along with mathematics is what you require for as an engineer to do it. Qualities of successful engineer. This is what all these qualities are what you will acquire during your 8th semester studies. But then all of them will not be taught in the class. This is most of the things you will be acquiring by going through the course. One is willingness to learn. You should have an aptitude to learn. And an engineer should be willing to learn on a daily basis, because learning is a never-ending process. If you have graduated also, when you are graduated also, you need to keep learning through your experiences, learning in classes, you need to attend refresher courses, you need to attend various lectures and other things, and the learning goes through. And so you should have a willingness to learn. That is one of the qualities which is required for you to be as a successful engineer. You should have an analytical aptitude, a good analytical aptitude, more because most of the things you have to analyze. Analyze in terms of mathematical equations, analyze in terms of the conceptual understanding, analyze the problem as it is. So analytical attitude is aptitude is an important aspect where when you want to be a successful engineer. And I said mathematically inclined, the importance of mathematics I have already told you. So you should have an inclination towards mathematics because you are going to solve with the help of mathematical solutions. Most of the engineering problems are solved with the help of mathematical solutions. Logical thinking, that is the most important characteristics of a successful engineer. He should have logical thinking. And apparently, when you go through the all 8 semesters of the courses, 4 year of courses, when you complete and then come out, your logical thinking automatically improves, because indirectly, by solving different problems, practical problems and other problems through assignments and in classes, your thinking process have been refined and your logical thinking process have been improved. So you'll become a better logical thinker after the engineering course is completed. So I cannot impose logical thinking in you. You have to develop a logical thinking aptitude by practice, and that is what the kind of practice you do in the class. When you come across a problem, yes, I need to analyze it. I have a problem. What are the possible cause for this? And then how do I understand? How do I solve it? These are the kind of solutions which you come up with. All comes through a logical thinking and creativity. Creativity is out of the box solutions. When you want to develop solution for a problem, if there is a out of the shelf solution, you are not doing anything in terms of utilizing your brain. It's a problem is existing, then the solution is also recorded and existing. I just take out the solution and implement it. So that is not going to help you in developing creative solutions. But then you can always think about, how do I think about it in a different way so that a different solution can be obtained? And that is where the creative thinking is important. In fact, one of the tests what normally the teachers do in a class is open-ended questions. During the assignment, they will give you an open-ended assignment. So you will have the freedom to think about solving that question which is given to you. Data might be given or might not be given. So you go and get the data from various people or various locations or from the field, then try to come up with a solution. So what happens is, if there are 30 or 40 students in the class, and when we give an open-ended question there, all the 30 and 40 students come up with different kinds of solutions, which implies that every individual has thought this solution in a different way. So that way, your creative thinking and logical thinking helps in developing different solutions and out of the box. Some of them could be very, very interesting solution, which could be out of the box. So that is most important. So you need to start thinking about it in a different way rather than the bookish way. And one of the characteristics I again want all of you to have is, you need to have understanding of the principles and principles and the theoretical knowledge what you are trying to do, rather than memorizing it. If you understand the principles behind your theory, you will be able to relate any problem with the theoretical knowledge you have. Whereas when you are memorizing it, you will become a simple machine where you will apply your knowledge only in a mechanical way. So that is where actually understanding and memorizing differs. When you understand, primarily you use your intelligence to understand, and basically it should be stored in your brain so that any point of time it can be picked up. It's basically you are developing a database in your brain with all these knowledge. So it should be stored as a knowledge rather than a memory. And that is more important in engineering, because then you can relate and then use your understanding for various kinds of problems. This is important when similar problems have been come across or have been posed before you. Then you can develop independent solutions and come up with various kinds of ideas with your understanding of the problem and the solution methods. Comprehensive reading is very, very important. I urge all of you to, if all of you have the reading habit, continue to read. It helps you in 2 or 3 ways. One is, if you start reading, don't worry about in the beginning whether you are reading literature, or whether you are reading textbooks, or whether you are reading newspaper, or whether you are reading magazines. Reading habit is to be inculcated as a habit in your life. That helps in 1 or 2 ways. One is, your language skills increase, because you know, when you read certain things, you know how they have framed the sentence. You have to read it in that way, how they have framed the sentence, what are the kind of words they have used, and all these increases your vocabulary. Whichever language you're reading, increases your vocabulary, the usage of these the words, the sentence formation and other thing, and your communication skills automatically goes up. So reading helps you to improve your communication skills in whatever language you are been comfortable with. Then it also helps in writing effectively. So reading, comprehensive reading, helps in developing scripts as well as effectively, because when you read very carefully and comprehensively, you know the formation of the sentences and other things. So it becomes a habit for you to write. And my other suggestion is, when you start reading, whether it is magazine or the textbook is not a matter, you should also start taking notes, simple notes, where you wanted to read, come back and read details about it later. So keep noting down certain things which you have not understood in the first reading, come back and read it. And this is how you improve on your knowledge by reading. And as I said, not everything can be taught in the class. So you will have to read outside the classroom. I guess the curriculum these days have a lot of time for you to read outside the classroom. Utilize the library, whichever library you have. Don't only depend on the Google for documents and other things to read. Please go to the library, spend some time in the library. There are a lot of books available in each of these institutions. So utilize the library effectively and then come up with your improved knowledge in the system. Communicate effectively is the mandatory skill which is required for an engineer. The famous O-ring failure of one of the spacecraft, it was primarily because the communication was not proper, that the O-ring failure was not communicated to the team, and during the launch of the spacecraft, it failed because the O-ring failed and there was leakage of the oil. So communication is much more important. I can do a lot of good work, I can do a lot of good design, I can develop an effective design for solving a problem, but then if I fail to communicate that, then either my idea is not implemented as I wanted, or my idea gets killed myself itself. So it doesn't even go outside my mind. So these are some of the problems which we feel like, if you are not able to communicate effectively, all these kinds of things come. And interpret meaningfully. That is also a quality which is required for a successful engineer. You should be able to interpret the issues in a meaningful way. When I say meaningful way, it should actually be acceptable to everybody, that this is the way the problem has been convinced, or this is the root cause of the problem, and you should have convincing evidences to prove your the interpretation, so that everybody accepts it. So interpret anything in a meaningful way with the help of technical knowledge. And technical knowledge is what you are being trained during the 8 semesters, which will go through in the next few years. So all these qualities are required for an engineer, and as I said, they don't teach you the qualities as it is in the classroom. So your learning willingness cannot be taught. Your analytical aptitude cannot be taught. You have to gain it through practice. Learning willingness, you need to read and learn, you need to attend classes and learn, you need to discuss and learn. All these qualities cannot be actually directly taught in the class. So you will acquire it through your experience in the next eight semesters. But these 8 semesters, you will be having classroom teaching, your practicals in the labs, then assignments, examinations, and all these things. All these things are actually intended for improving these qualities in yourself. All of us have some of these qualities inherent, but then enhanced, improved these qualities in yourself is to be done by the practice of all these things by yourself. I think I have only a couple of more slides which I wanted to say. What are the skills engineers gain during the 8 semesters? Programming skills. This is specific. Earlier I was talking about more generic, but then this is specific. Programming skills, when I say, is these days every solution require a computer-based solution, because you may have to do a simulation because you don't want to. Earlier, what was happening is you need to construct prototype models for all the processes and the products which you wanted to develop, then try to gain from that and improvise it. These days, what happens is most of the time we do a simulation and prototypes are minimized. So when you wanted to do a simulation, or when you wanted to develop a simulator or simulation model, you need to know a computer programming skill, a knowledge about the computer programming language. So programming skills you have to acquire. And I guess there are some courses in the curriculum of undergraduate engineering where these skills are also being taught. So one of the skills which you certainly need to acquire is programming skills. If some of you are already aware of or have knowledge about a programming language, start improvising your skills in that language, or try to learn one of the languages which are possible. One language learning is enough, because with lesser time when you know one language thoroughly. So I don't specify which language. You can choose which language you wanted to learn. Then the logic of programming, the syntax of programming can be same. The logic of programming remains the same irrespective of the language, but syntax of programming can be a little different, which you can always get adapted to when you wanted to apply in a different language. So programming skills is one of the important skills which you have to learn during this course of study. Problem solving skills, again, as I said, this will come by solving lot of problems in the class, lot of assignment solutions, open-ended solutions, practical problems. By the end of the 4th year, you will also do a project which is again developing a solution for the practical problem. So this way, your problem solving skills also get improved in the curriculum. I mean, at the end of the curriculum. So that is how they have designed the curriculum. Then you need project management skills. Project management skills is basically you achieve it through extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities are part of the system, and please don't focus only on your studies 24 hours so that you don't get exposed to anything else. So extracurricular activities you have to get participated into, and that is where you will gain the project management skills. Organization skills is the same. When you have cultural programs and sports and any other extracurricular activities, get involved in the organization so that you learn these organization skills. You know how to organize an event, you know how to manage an event. All these things are part of your training for getting or for getting into the development of a good, successful engineer. Leadership qualities. You need leadership qualities because as an engineer, you will have to, at some point of time, lead a team who will actually execute a project work. And as I said, every solution these days is a part of teamwork. It is the result of teamwork. So teamwork have to be coordinated by a leader so that the things will go according to the way you have designed. So you need to have the leadership quality. And I have told you already about the verbal communication skills. Please try to improve on your verbal communication skills. I would preferably say English more because English is the most common language discussed or communicated across. But then it's up to you, whichever language you want to develop communications on. But then verbal communication skills have to be improved as much as possible. And that will only help you in communicating with others. And if you fail to communicate with others, you will not be able to be a successful engineer. Teamwork, I mentioned about it already. The quality of a teamwork or the skill of teamwork, you should be actually getting merged with anybody. You should be able to work with anybody, irrespective of whatever your these things are. But then you should also bring others for developing teamwork. So you can be part of the teamwork, but then you can also develop teamwork. You can also develop team, and then you improvise on your leadership qualities as well as the teamwork quality. Proficiency in mathematics and physics is important, as I said, is part of the curriculum. Engineering primarily require mathematical skills as well as the knowledge in physics, because most of the engineering problems are posed as physics problems and are solved using mathematics. So these two skills or these two subjects, proficiency is more important. It doesn't mean that chemistry and biology are not important, but engineering, when it comes, basically it's physics and mathematics is the pioneering things, but then other two are important depending upon the problem. Working under pressure, timelines, then you have to solve. There will be a lot of material non-availability, then you are under pressure. So all these things are very common for an engineer when you practically solve a problem. As I said, when you actually enter into the field, the solution cannot be as equivalent to as what you have learned in the class. It will be the practical situation could be slightly different. So depending upon the available time, depending upon the available material, depending upon the available economy, you have to manage your project in such a way that and develop a solution. So you will be under tremendous pressure for developing such solutions. So you need to have the skills for working under pressure. Then don't get compressed in the pressure, but then take it lightly and come out with different solutions that can be used for solving the problem, where your critical thinking and creative thinking helps. Critical thinking and creative thinking helps in when you are coming across a problem that requires a solution in lesser time, and that is where you cannot be failure. You cannot be developing a solution that leads to a failure, but then you have to have a critical analysis of the solution so that the whatever solutions you are suggesting is going to be a real solution for the problem which you are posing or which you are facing. So critical thinking as well as creative thinking, these are additional skills which you need to acquire during your 8th semester course. How do you plan your career is the next question. Some of you, actually, I have seen people asking me before even they join, sir, if I take this branch, will I get a kind of job which I like? Rather than the students, mostly the parents ask me. But then my simple answer to them is, the career, whatever you are thinking, is your choice. But then the market value of the career at the end of 4 years, because you have just started now, end of 4 years, you don't know whether it's going to be the same, because market fluctuates. Sometimes it could be maybe like 2-3 years back, the civil engineers were in much demand, but then that has come down. But then somebody who has joined thinking that civil engineering is in big demand might find that no, end of 4 years, it is not in the same demand as earlier. Or for example, electrical engineers for that matter, or computer engineers. So primarily, don't look into, this is like no stock market. The career, the prospects, you don't really know what will happen to the career market in the next 4 years. So don't worry about it. You make or you equip yourself as an engineer in the 4 years. Then look at the market at the time of graduation. Then try to market yourself as an engineer and then try to get a job. So for that, First, you should understand what you are. You should know yourself. What are your credentials? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? You should have a self analysis. What can be projected as my strength? What are going to be my weaknesses where I need to improve? So you should have a thorough understanding about yourself. Once you have that, then explore your options. Which are the options which are available to you? You may be passionate for one kind of a profession, but then you need to critically think and analyze, will I fit for that? That is where knowing yourself is very important. So once you have identified, well, these are my options, and out of these options, one or two I'm basically going to explore, then you take a decision very carefully after looking at these options. Once you take a decision looking at all these options, then it becomes easy for you to go ahead and move on in that career path. And that is how you should be doing. Don't get biased by the social pressure or the peer pressure for your career, because if you choose a career on your own, of yourself, that will be your passion finally, and you will be able to move on without any trouble. Otherwise, what happens is you will be driven by several others when you wanted to do your career, and you will lose your independence in taking decisions and going ahead with the career choices. So my suggestion to all of you is, you understand what is best for you and what you can do the best, and try to move on in that direction. Monetary things and other things will automatically come when you start doing your passionate job on your own. So that is most important thing. Finally, what is important is your own satisfaction about doing this job is important. So choose a career in those lines. What are the career prospects you have? I'm just briefly giving you an idea about where and all engineers can be brought in, or engineers are required. Engineers are required in mostly consultancy, because engineering solutions require, as I said, a teamwork. So the consultancy organizations will have multidisciplinary engineers where they can all sit together and develop a team and develop solutions to it. So consultancy organizations are one option for all of you. The other one is administration. Administration can be done by any graduate, but then engineers are better suited there more because they think logically. Then now your requirement is there in manufacturing, production, and execution, of course, and that is what most of us in engineering learn and we are supposed to do. So consultancy do this thing on a larger scale basis as a solution, but then this is direct manufacturing or production. Testing, where all the engineering properties and other things have to be tested, or the solution needs to be verified. All these things, there are a lot of organizations, they do only testing. So that is another area where engineers are really required. Then analysis and design. Organizations where analysis and designs are being executed, the role of engineers are important. So that is a career choice for several of you. Planning and management is a choice, because you are thinking about developing solutions for the problem, posing problems, understanding the causative reasons for the problems. All these helps in planning and management of resources in various aspects. And you are also required in research and development, and R&D works require input from the engineers, not only scientists, because it becomes now an interdisciplinary R&D things. When engineers and scientists sit together and develop solutions, that becomes more and more attractive rather than an independent solution developed by a scientist or an engineer. So that way, these are some of the, I have not listed everything here, but then most of the engineers go and work in these kind of fields, and ample opportunities are available these days for all of you to work in any of these organizations. I would like you to, in summary, I would like all of you to give you few suggestions. One is, you be very, very confident that you have taken this choice of becoming an engineer, acquire all the skills that is required for an engineer in addition to the classroom teaching, and through different interaction and other courses, you acquire the skills required for an engineer, execute all possible problems and projects during your study so that you get exposed to the practical problems and get solutions by discussion, thinking, and as a teamwork. By end of 4 years, you will be acquired with all the skills and the credentials which is required for a good engineer, and you will become a very good engineer who can be employed by a professional company. And that is what you should actually do in the next 4 years. And I would like to close here, and any questions which we can always discuss on. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you, sir. Dear students, like I mentioned in the beginning of the session, now it's time that you can ask questions. Teachers, please help the students to type out the questions in the chat. Today is the last day of the induction program. So, ഓർക്കുക നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എപ്പോഴും ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ചാൻസ് കിട്ടത്തില്ല ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള വലിയ ആൾക്കാരുമായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കാനും സംവദിക്കാനും. So kindly make use of this time and ask questions. You can type the questions in the chat so that I can read it out. Colleges that are streaming this session on bigger screens, please type the question. Teachers can type the questions. Yes, sir. There is one question from Hari. How can we develop communication skills for interviews?
Well, that's a good question. There is no communication skills specifically only for interview. Communication skills for generic. So primarily the most important part of it is that you should speak in the language where you wanted to communicate with your friends and faculty members and wherever you get an opportunity. Practice is the only solution for improving your communication skills. You cannot be just reading and communicating. You have to talk to each other. Automatically, your communication skills will increase. Initially, there will be inhibition for everybody, whether I am speaking it rightly or wrongly. Doesn't matter. You start speak. I mean, that is how you have actually started speaking your own language. You were not very perfect in the very beginning when you started speaking in the, maybe at the year of 1 or 2. So you perfected it through practice. In a similar way, you have to start speaking to everybody in the language you wanted to improve your skills on. Then automatically the skills will get improved. And your vocabulary can be improved through reading. These are the two things I would always suggest for improving your communication skills.
So there is another one. What are the career options available for a computer science engineering graduate?
I guess I have told in the very beginning, don't worry about the option right now. You learn it first. You learn computer science first. Whatever, if you have joined for a computer science, you first need to be a graduate in computer science. By the time you graduate, you will automatically know what are the options available. If you start looking at the options even now, what happens is your entire learning will be biased. So rather, I would say there are a lot of opportunities for a computer science graduate. But then I don't want to spell out them more because I don't want you to get biased for your learning. I wanted to become so and so, I will only learn that. Then what happens is you will not be a completely molded engineer at the end of it. So don't worry about your targeted job right now. You be an engineer by end of 4 years, then you start thinking about your career options.
Thank you, sir. Sharath has asked, how are some skills being underutilized?
That is up to you. How do you utilize your skills is up to you. You have to demonstrate your skills. Underutilization of the skills, what do you mean? You should know what are your skills and you demonstrate your skills. That is how. Whether it is creative skills or maybe like you could be a good in drawing. You could utilize that in developing innovative solutions through drawing, communicating through drawing. Every skill can be used for one or the other purposes in engineering. So I don't think any skill is getting underutilized in engineering.
Okay, thank you, sir. There is one question from Ashwana. How can we manage time for extracurricular and extra learning?
Yeah, that I completely, that's an interesting question. How do you manage your time is always a question because everyone has only 24 hours in a day. So you have to plan your activities in such a way that everything can be an organized way, and you need to attend classes, you need to attend to other activities, you have to have a calendar of events for a daily basis, so that this is how I am going to manage my time. But then initially, if you keep planning your activities and follow a schedule, maybe in a month or two, you will automatically become a good timekeeper and a time manager, so that all the activities which you wanted to do can be completed on time. And I think this is how most of the successful engineers work. And then it basically time management and punctuality. These are important in our life anyway, for any career. So that comes through practice.
Yeah, okay, sir. Ananya C is asking, should I learn coding as a civil engineering student?
I would say not as a civil engineering student, as an engineer, you should know coding, because these days, most of the solutions or engineering solutions are developed and tested through coding. And irrespective of whether you're a civil engineer or other engineer, I would suggest you learn coding. One programming language you should know, so that it's not only for developing solution through programming, it also helps in your thinking logically. Because coding is a logical way of organizing the solution. So to develop a code for a solution, you need to have a logical framework, and that creation of logical framework helps in developing other solution assets. Because that's one of the reasons I always say, one language you should always learn. In addition, you can also learn other tools. Say, for example, AutoCAD for civil engineers, geographic information system tools for several of the engineers. All these things are the tools which you can always learn. And learning should not be, you should not be thinking, what is the use of learning this tool for me? Use will come one day. Don't think that tomorrow I'm going to apply this tool for my living or my application. So when you get a chance to learn something, learn it.
Okay, sir. Another question from LBS College of Engineering, Kasaragod. What is the importance of lab sessions? Lab sections
is basically, if you don't do lab, it will be very similar to learning swimming through postal tuition. Engineering principles can be taught in the class, but if you actually experience that in the lab, you will never forget what you have learned in the class. So it's equally important that you have a session in the class then you demonstrate, get it demonstrated and understand in the lab sessions. So lab sessions are very, very important for engineering specifically.
Thanks, sir. Avi Lakshmi DS is asking how to improve our maths and physics skill.
Through learning, nothing else. Practice. Do a lot of problems. Understand. Do a lot of problems in the textbook and outside the textbook. And that is the only way of improving your skills.
There is another question. How to increase our technical skills in this developing world as our Indian BTech syllabus is getting outdated?
Well, I would not say, or I would not agree with your point that it's getting outdated. Engineering principles are the same, whether it is long back or the current. Engineering principles are same, fundamentals of engineering are same. Only thing is probably the latest technology is not being given to you as a course directly, but I guess there are a lot of electives and additional subjects or additional courses which offers these kind of topics for you to learn from. So I guess Indian engineers are trained much better than anybody else in the world. And that is why Indian engineers are in big demand. So our syllabus is, I will not agree that no, our syllabus is out of context or outdated, but syllabus remains same. But then what probably can happen is the focus of our syllabus could be a little different than the other countries, which they might have some targeted engineering courses which their focus is on the current activities, but fundamental engineering remain the same irrespective of whether it is taught in India or abroad. So that is not an issue. So your specific tools and skills which you acquire, you have to learn through your elective courses and other opportunities which you out. I mean, you also have a opportunity for honorary this thing, right? So you can have additional courses for getting the honorary degree as well. So that is how you acquire all this knowledge. So I mean, I don't completely agree with your statement, but this is my perception on that.
A question from Vignesh Weezer. How can we push the boundaries of technology to create something new and innovative?
Creative thinking, nothing else. If I give a question to the class of 30 students, if 30 students come up with a unique solution, the question is not open-ended. Question is bounded. So you should actually, the point is the teacher should create a problem in such a way that there are open-ended questions which are having no rigid boundary so that people can think and develop different kinds of solutions. That is where the creative thinking and the critical thinking of the students can be stimulated. They come up with, if there are 30 students, they come up with 30 different solutions. That is possible if they think independently. But there are always group thinking, which is also good. So the perceptions could be different. But as long as you give a rigid problem, there could be only one solution, which is common for unique problem, which will be given by anybody. So opportunities basically will help you in developing your creative thinking and critical thinking. Mostly practical problems, if you pose as an assignment, students will come up with a lot of critical solutions and creative solutions.
There is another question from Honey Baby. Benefits of choosing MBA after BTech?
That is a tendency these days, I guess. Do you do your MBA after BTech? MBA is primarily a management. So engineering and management is a good option, no doubt about it, because finally, the after doing a period of career as engineer, you will finally have to be a team leader and then execute different projects and develop a team of people and then try to do that. Their management skills are important. So there's nothing wrong in doing an MBA after BTech.
Yes. So there is Shravan asking from SNM-IMT. After completing BTech, Masters, PhD, will I automatically become a computer scientist or should I do extra course to become a computer scientist?
You will be termed as a computer scientist. after doing PhD. But whether you will be a successful scientist or a well-recognized scientist depend on your own. How do you demonstrate your skills? How do you develop your abilities for the utilization of others? So that is where you will be termed as a computer scientist, but then success depends on your own applications and development.
Arya Devi is asking, what is the scope of higher studies in engineering in Kerala?
Higher studies in engineering Kerala are ample. KTU itself has a master's degree and PhD program. Several other institutes are there in Kerala. IIT Palakkad, then NIT Calicut, then there are ICER Trivandrum, NIST, and there are, I think there are 14 universities and around 17 centrally funded institutions who offer master's program in Kerala. You can always go and join any of the courses of your choice and then continue to do your higher studies. And then Kerala is considered to be an educational hub in the South India for doing higher studies. So opportunities are umpties. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you, sir. Another question from Vignesh V. What are the ethical considerations in artificial intelligence and autonomous systems, and how can we ensure responsible development?
Well, it's an interesting question. Again, these days, several people talk about artificial intelligence, which can be used in a positive way, and it can also be used in a negative way. Ethics is, I did not mention anything about the ethics because I don't think ethics is to be taught. It has to come by on. If I am a successful engineer, I have to be very ethical in my profession as well as my personal life. So ethics is very important. And if all of us keep that spirit of ethics, I don't think artificial intelligence or any other tool will be used negatively. So we don't need to worry about it. The only thing is every individual has the responsibility of using the resources given to us in a very effective way without losing or without changing the purpose for which it is given. So I think you cannot impose or you cannot regulate ethics through law or something. Well, there are regulations. If you do this, if you please, you'll get penalty and all. But then, how many of us will actually follow that through the regulation? So it is basically our own responsibility that we should be ethical in our profession and ethical in our private life as well. So if everyone thinks in that way, I don't think there will be any issue for the social responsibility and a ethical life.
Thank you, sir. Question from Farhan Parvez. What attitude should we have to study engineering?
What aptitude?
Attitude. It is attitude, he has written.
Attitude for engineering?
Yes. Attitude should we have to study engineering? What attitude should we have?
I guess all the 1 hour I was talking about what is required you to understand as an engineer. So I guess he did not follow what I've said. So primarily you should have a positive mind for learning engineering. And I said you should not regret for joining engineering. That's the first attitude you should have. If you start thinking that I joined engineering, which I did not want, then I guess your life is going to be miserable. You should actually think very positive about your joining, because there's no point in thinking and regretting about your decision. If you start regretting about your decision, then you will not be able to take a decision confidently at any point of your life. So that is the most important attitude you should have. Once you take a decision, you should go further on that. So let's not worry about what comes into the way. I'll face it and take it as a challenge. That's how it should be. So attitude in a way that the attitude to learn and attitude to face challenges. These are some of the qualities which I look forward.
Thank you, sir. The question from Aditya Manoj. Is it worth taking MTech after BTech?
Well, that's again an individual's perspective. I mean, I'm an academician. I would say higher studies are always better. But then if you get a job which gives you full satisfaction, you can always do that job immediately after the BTech. But most of the time, what I have seen is people, even after they do a job for quite some time, maybe 3-4 years, they go for higher studies. So higher studies are always a choice, good. But then when it should be, it's the personal choice.
So there is one more question from Honey Baby. After BTech, what are the benefits of writing GATE?
Writing GATE is primarily for earlier it was only for higher studies and IITs and NITs, and now there are a lot of other institutions as well which they take the GATE score for admission to master's program. These days, GATE is also considered as an entry-level examination for various public sector undertaking organizations for the job. So GATE is an option if you wanted to go into any of these lines. MTech in these engineering institutions, higher engineering institutions, or the public sector undertaking organizations as the entry level jobs. So GATE, and then I have a friend who used to write. I mean, he is basically a chief engineer in railways, who writes GATE examination even these days. That is primarily he wanted to check his knowledge in engineering, whether it is still good or not. So that's another way of looking at GATE. So GATE is primarily a testing for you. What is your level of understanding of the subject?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I think we have answered all the questions that the students have asked.
All right. So thank you very much. And I wish all the best to all the students who have joined. And if I can be of any help to you at any point of time, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you have enjoyed a very informative session with our distinguished resource person, Professor K.P. Sudhir. It is an honor to have eminent persons like him joining us to deliver talks charged with knowledge and expertise. So, dear students, if you have joined engineering out of your interest or not, now that you have a fair idea how this academic pursuit is going to be rewarding. If you're looking for money, yes, it is there. If you're looking for personal satisfaction, there are plenty. So, dear students, do not fret. You are on the right path. Now you know the qualities you want to develop if you want to become a successful engineer. Increase your appetite for knowledge, develop analytical aptitude, develop communication, interpretation. I'm very extremely thankful to Professor Sudhir sir for emphasizing these and encouraging our students. Now it is time that we thank you for your time and efforts. On behalf of APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to you, sir. Your advices, the advices you shared with the students will stay with our students throughout their academic journey. We are hopeful of that. Once again, sir, thank you for gracing us with your presence and your invaluable contribution to our induction program. Thank you all.
Thank you.